last few videos, we've talked about the risk factors for cancer, we've separated facts from fictions, and we've talked about 10 lifestyle choices or changes you can make to reduce your risk of developing cancer over your lifetime. Now, one of those choices is one that we said was very painful for Black people because it is something we love a lot, and that is to reduce consumption of red meat and processed meat. Hello, welcome back to Food Decoded, where I help you reset your relationship with food, lose weight and keep it off, and eat healthy. My name is Yemi Fadipe, and in the current series of videos, we've been looking at the relationship between food and cancer. This is the fourth or fifth video, so if you're just joining us, use the link below to follow this from the beginning, because we are trying to present this information in a logical order so it makes proper sense to you. There is a lot of nutrition transition, that's what we call it in public health, happening in most Black communities, either in Africa or for those who have migrated. The more well-to-do we get, the more comfortable we get, the higher our consumption of meat. I don't know, it's just a mindset thing. So it's important that we address this, because if you also take note, you would also see that the incidences of bowel cancer is beginning to go in that direction amongst the Black community. So what is it about meat? Let's look at this in detail. Meat actually is a good source of protein, iron, vitamin B12, and zinc. As a matter of fact, animal sources of protein, iron, and zinc are more bioavailable than plant sources. So by bioavailability, I mean the ability of the body to absorb and use a nutrient when it's consumed. So iron, protein, and zinc from animal sources, i.e. meat, is actually more bioavailable than plant sources. And vitamin B12 is only available in animal food products. You cannot find it naturally in plants. So there is nothing wrong with meat per se as a food item. It is not a bad food item. The negative health impact that we are talking about here is associated with high consumption of red meat and consumption of processed meat, both of which have been supported by strong evidence of having a link with development of bowel cancer. Red meat and processed meat is also known to have high saturated fats, which increases your non-LDL cholesterol, that's the bad cholesterol, that is linked to heart conditions, general cardiovascular diseases generally. Sometimes when you look at it, then you can start to see that consuming excessive meat or processed meat at all, the risk looks like it outweighs the benefits. What is red meat? Red meat includes things like beef, lamb, goat's meat, veal, mutton, all those meats that appear red when they're raw are red meat, basically. And so this doesn't include white meat, and those are things like your chicken, turkey, poultry, generally guinea fowl, and rabbits. So, those meats that they are more or less not white, but you know the difference. Those ones are not included when we're talking about high consumption of meat causing cancer or causing heart diseases. It's mainly the red meat. Now, what kind of meat is processed meat that we're talking about? Processed meat is any meat that has been preserved by smoking, salting, curing, or addition of additives. And these examples could include hot dogs, bacon, ham slices, chorizo, salami, pates, corned beef. For those of us who don't eat eggs without corned beef, ham slices that a lot of us put in sandwiches for our children. You know what? I really wanted to go into in-depth and give more examples here, because this is an area where Black people tend to spend more money to reflect wealth, and this just does not make sense. I know that is because a lot of us are not aware of the risks associated with these food items. But please, if you're not sure when you're picking all these canned meat products and all these processed meat products, check the ingredient list, and if you find nitrates or nitrites on the ingredient list, you are carrying with you processed meat, irrespective of whether it is processed from red meat or white meat. So, what makes red meat or processed meat unhealthy? Now, what makes red meat red is the heme iron that is inside it, and that is what makes it look red. That's the component of red meat that exposes us to these problems. And when it comes to processed meat, like I said earlier, it is mainly the nitrates and the nitrites that are the culprits. And I still don't know why the food industry is still rolling out lots of food products with nitrates and nitrites. It frustrates me because I'm in the industry and I see this every day. Guys, please make sure that you are reading your ingredient list before you feed these things to your children or to your family. So we've said it is not just meat that is bad, it is high intake of meat. So then I'm sure you're asking me, how much meat is too much? The recommendation to avoid this risk that I talked about when you're consuming red meat is to not consume more than 350 to 500 grams of red meat per week. So that is about 70 grams per day. If you have a scale at home, put a piece of meat on it and see how much you're eating at the moment. If you're eating more than 70 grams of red meat per day, you are increasing your risk every day of developing bowel cancer. So for those of you, my brothers and my sisters, who like to eat meat like lion, where meat's all over the plate, and you say, where is the soup in this thing? It's all meat. I've been accused of that before as well. And by the way, this is where we need to start to make those changes. How can you make healthier choices where meat is concerned? Because for a lot of black people, becoming vegan or vegetarian is not an option. So what can you do differently while you are consuming meat? Stay healthy and reduce your risk. 1. Replace red meat and processed meat with fish and white meat. Yeah, you don't have to become vegetarian. Eat less of red meat, eat less, if any, of processed meat, and replace that with fish, with chicken, with turkey, with guinea fowl. There's so many different kind of poultry meats when you go to Africa. I even ate ostrich in South Africa. It's so delicious. I know that if I say that in the UK, RSPCA will probably come after me. But yeah, replace your red meat with white meat and fish. That is the first step you could be making to reduce your risk. 2, if you can't replace completely, then reduce the consumption, right? It's a simple strategy. Replace, reduce the consumption of red meat in your diet, reduce the consumption of processed meat in your diet. And 3, increase your consumption of plant proteins. If you are worried about, if I reduce meat and all of that, am I getting enough protein, or I'd rather go vegetarian, increase your consumption of beans, of pulses, of lentils. All of these are naturally low in fat and high in fiber, and so good for you anyway to prevent cancer and obesity, and also to lower your risk of bowel cancer. I'm sure you're going to say, so where will I get my vitamin B12? Vitamin B12 these days, some of these products will be fortified with it, and that is how those who are vegetarian get these nutrients into their bodies. The strategy with meat is, if you can, do not go beyond 350 grams to 500 grams per week. Replace red and processed meat in your diet with fish and white meat. Reduce your consumption of red meat. Avoid processed meat altogether if you can, and increase your consumption of plant proteins. For more information about what I've shared today, go into the link and get the flyer that I've created for this topic to help you constantly remember this. It's something that you can put on your kitchen wall if you think that you need to refer to it over and over again. If you also want to find out more, I've also included references to the information I'm sharing for those who are interested in going further into this. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions on what I've discussed about today, I'm sure there will be, because of the suyas and the asuns and all those things, and the barbecues, and the Jamaican jack chicken. Feel free to DM me on Instagram or Facebook, on WhatsApp, or directly under this chat, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. I love you so much. Keep eating healthy and stay healthy. Stay alive, because there is so much ahead for you. See you in the next video.